Hi guys, welcome to Creatively Homemade. Thank you so much for taking time to watch my latest video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jennifer. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and 3 days a week I share creative paper crafting projects with you. So today I have for you a cute little Christmas ornament made with a mason jar ring and lid. Super cute and super easy to put together. I just love how this turned out. It's a 3D ornament instead of a flat one. It's got a little bit of dimension in the background by through the use of an embossing folder. We've got some coloring and we've got a cute little bottle brush tree. I just love how this turned out. Now all week long I've been featuring the Spirited Snowmen stamp set, and that is what I used to make this ornament. Such a cute set if you love snowmen or if you love coloring. Either one. So let's get started and I will show you how easy it is to put this little ornament together. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the supplies you're going to need to make this ornament. So first of all, you need a mason jar lid and a mason jar ring. Now I'm using the wide mouth ones. That gives you more space for your ornament. These are available for purchase separately. I always have a ton on hand because I use mason jars for storage of rice and things like that in my pantry, and I replace these metal rings with plastic caps. So I always have these lying around extra. I don't do a lot of canning, so I need to find something to do with them. Like I said, if you don't have any on hand for canning or whatever, you can purchase these on Amazon. I'll link those down in the description box below. You're going to need the Spirited Snowmen stamp set. That's the stamp set I'm featuring all week long, so be sure to check out the rest of my videos for that. You're going to need the Swirls and Curls embossing folder. Now this is my free gift for the month of November with purchase, so be sure to check out all the details down in the description box below on how you can get this embossing folder for free. You're going to need a die cut machine and the Layering Circles die set. You're going to need some cardstock, Pool Party and Whisper White. You're going to need some self-adhesive rhinestones. You need 1.5 inch mini bottle brush trees. I found mine at Hobby Lobby, but I'll link to them down below where you can get them on Amazon. You need a heavy duty 1/4 inch hole punch. You need one that will go through multiple sheets of paper at the same time. This is the only hole punch strong enough to punch through that metal ring. So you want to make sure you have a heavy duty one. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. You're going to need a banner triple punch. If you don't have this, you can just cut the fishtail ends on the little sentiment banner with scissors if you prefer. You're going to need some red ribbon. You're going to need some Stampin' Blend markers to do your coloring. You're going to need some archival quality ink to do your stamping. I use StazOn. And then you're going to need E6000 glue or another glue that will adhere metal to metal. You might be able to use Gorilla Glue, just read the packaging. And then you're going to need a hot glue gun. Okay, the very first thing you want to do is you need to glue the lid to the ring. Now you don't want the rim, the orange rim, facing towards the front of the ornament. You want to turn it over so that the silver part is facing this way, so that you'll have that silver ring around instead of the obnoxious orange. So what you're going to do is you're going to run E6000 glue all the way around the inner rim, and then you want to press this in place. Now E6000 has to cure for 24 hours. So I went ahead and did that yesterday so that it was done and I was all ready to go today for my video. And if you're using Gorilla Glue or something else, be sure to follow the package directions. Now the next thing you want to do is pull out that crocodile punch. I think that's the name of it. It's from We Are Memory Keepers. You want the one with the 1/4 inch hole, or that makes the 1/4 inch holes. And you're just going to punch on the inside of that lid. You're going to do 2 holes, maybe a 1/4 inch apart. Doesn't have to be exact. So there you can see a little bit better. And those are just the holes where we're going to run the hanger through, the ribbon through to make the hanger. Okay, so now I've pulled out my die cut machine. We've got a few things to do with it. I've got that pool party scrap of paper and my layering circles die set. If you've never seen this die set before, it has regular circles in a variety of sizes, and then it has scallop circles. Fun for layering. You need the largest circle die. This is 3 inches in diameter, and you need to cut out 2 of those. Okay, got that one. I'm just going to run it back through to cut a second one. Okay, next I'm switching over to my multi-purpose platform that came with my die cut machine. The other platform I used was a magnetic one to hold the die in place. So I need to go back to my regular one for embossing. You want to make sure it's turned to tab number 1. So go ahead and put 1 plate down. With embossing folders, you still need to make a standard sandwich with the 2 plates. We're going to emboss one of those circles, so just center it on the embossing folder. Anytime you use an embossing folder, you want to make sure the fold goes into your machine. That will ensure you don't crack it. Place the other plate on top and run that through. So this is the little circle that's going to be used on the front of your ornament, and then we're going to use this one to cover the back of the ornament, that mason jar lid. Okay, I've pulled out my trimmer. We need to cut one little piece for the sentiment that goes on the bottom of that ornament. So you need to cut a piece of Whisper White that is a 1/2 inch by 3 inches. Okay. Okay, the next step is to do some stamping, so I'm going to be using 2 of these stamps. I'm using these cute little snowmen with the heart that's down at the bottom here and the Love Never Melts. So I already have those mounted on clear blocks. I pulled out my Stays On ink. Anytime you're coloring, you want to use something that's archival so the ink won't bleed when you color. With the Stampin Blends, Stays On works perfectly. So I'm going to stamp that Snowman in Love on a piece of Whisper White, and then I'm going to stamp that sentiment on the little strip we cut out in the previous step. You just want to center that. Just like that. And that's all the stamping you need to do. Now you want to pull out that banner triple punch, hold it upside down, and you want to insert that banner from the back side and give it a trim. You can also do this with scissors if you don't have this punch, but I love this punch and I use it all the time, so I thought I would show it to you. Okay, and now you have your cute, whoops, that's upside down, the cute little sentiment banner. So the next step is to do some coloring with Stampin' Blend markers. Anytime you color with alcohol markers, like Stampin' Blends or Copics, you want to have something down to protect your work surface because the markers will bleed through the cardstock. So I'm going to start with Pumpkin Pie, and I'm going to color the little nose, the carrot nose. Then I'm going to do the arms, and I'm using Crumb Cake for that. Now these smaller spaces you won't be able to do any blending. They're just too tiny of a space. So I'm just using the darker of the markers. Stampin' Blend markers come in 2 different shades, a light and a dark, and that allows you to blend them. Normally you put the darker shade down first for some accents, and then you go back in with the lighter shade to provide, you know, to blend it together and provide shading so it looks more realistic. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is those two little berries up on the top of her hat. And while I have out my cherry cobbler, I might as well do all of that. So that one was the lighter one shade for the berries. And now I've pulled out the darker shade of cherry cobbler. And I'm going to do the heart. So the way I do my shading is I always think of the light coming from one side. So if the light is coming in from this direction, then any lines on this side are going to be darker. So those are the ones I accent with the darker Stampin' Blends marker. And then I come back and use the lighter. And I use a swirling motion to kind of blend that in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Even if you are new to coloring, you will get nice results with the Stampin' Blends. I am not an artistic person, but I love the effect I get with these markers. So then I think I'm going to do her little bow in red as well. So I'm going to go in and do a little bit of shading. There. And go back with the light one. Now if you want to learn actual like artistic techniques for coloring, I recommend watching some videos on YouTube. I'm not a huge coloring fan. I'll do it every once in a while, but I don't do it a lot of, you know, I don't do it all the time. But there are some people out there that are really talented that could teach you some good techniques for coloring and shading. One more thing I think on the hat, let's do the brim, or the ribbon I guess, on his hat. Okay. The nice thing about these snowmen images is they're really easy to color in because most of the image is white. So you don't have a lot of large spaces to color in. Okay, next I am going to do the green on the holly leaves. Green for the holly leaves on her hat. So I'm just going to do a few darker accents along the lines. And go back and color that in with the lighter. Nice thing about Stampin' Blends is if you go back later and find that it didn't really blend as much as you'd like, you can go back over it. You can keep adding layers of color till you get the exact look that you want. Okay, now let's do the hat. I'm going to use Smoky Slate for that. Now these Stampin' Blend markers have two tips. They have a wider brush tip and they have a more detailed tip. Since these images are all really fairly detailed and the spaces are small, I'm using the smaller tip. If you're coloring a bigger image, you would definitely want to use the brush tip. It would take less time. And I'm just going to go back with the lighter Smoky Slate marker and color in that hat. Well, both the hats. Like I said before, you want to use a circular motion, I'm sorry, to color in those images, and that's going to help those dark lines disappear and the colors shade together better. Okay. And the last little bit we have to do is the scarf. So I think I'm going to do that in Daffodil Delight. And maybe add a little, I think on his scarf is striped, if you can see that. So I think I'm going to put an orange stripe in his. Now his scarf is such a small space, you aren't going to need to do any blending. Just color it in one color. But you can do some shading on the female snowman scarf. So I did the middle stripe in Pumpkin Pie, and now I'm going to do the other two stripes in Daffodil Delight. My coloring's not perfect, but it's still going to look very, very cute. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and add some shading to the woman's, or the snow woman, I guess. So I'm going to color all along the lines and give some dark accents. And then I'm going to go back in with the lighter one. Really doesn't take very long to color in these images at all. I think it's taking me a little bit longer because I'm talking. And there we go. That's all you need to do with the Stampin' Blends. Now the other thing I'm going to do is optional, but it adds a really nice touch. I'm going to use this Wink of Stella glitter brush to color in the snow areas. It's just going to add a tiny little bit of glitter, and it's going to look so pretty, especially if you put this on your Christmas tree and it's catching the light. Incidentally, you can actually use this to blend color as well. I just like to keep it clean so it's clear, but I know there's a lot of people that use that to blend color. Okay, I think I got all the areas of the snowman with the glitter. I'll hold it up to the camera, but I don't know that that glitter is going to show up. Wink of Stella is a really fine glitter. Okay, the next thing you want to do is cut that snowman image out. Unfortunately, there is no die for this set. I think we got spoiled. I love my dies that coordinate with stamp sets that make it so easy to cut out. But it's really not all that hard to just fussy cut around the image. I'm just leaving a tiny little border around the black lines. If you have a brother scan and cut, that would work too. One of these days I'm going to invest in that. Everybody that has one really likes it, so that I know of, everybody likes it. Okay, so that didn't take too long to cut that out. Okay, so now we've done all our prep work and we are ready to start putting everything together. I've got my hot glue gun over here heating up. Let's start with that plain circle that's going to go on the back to cover it, just to give it a more finished look. Tear and tape adhesive works perfectly to adhere to that lid, so I'm just going to add some of that to the back of that circle die cut. Maybe 4 strips is perfect. You could also hot glue it if you want. Okay. Now when you're using tear and tape adhesive, there is a backing on it. It is double-sided adhesive, so you will need to remove that backing. I like to use this paper piercing tool. That makes quick work of it. Also works for taking the backing off of Stampin' Dimensionals. I keep my nails fairly short so I don't have nails to pry that backing up. So just center that die cut on the back of your ornament. Okay. Now on the inside there's an indentation on this lid. So if you use Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of that embossed piece, it pops it up just enough that it's flat across. So I'm going to add quite a few Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of this just to ensure it sticks down really well. Using up my little edge pieces. Okay, and then just remove the backing. Okay, I think one more. And then pop that down on the inside of your ornament. Give it a little press to ensure it stays down. The next thing we're going to do is put our little cutout snowman down. We're also going to use Stampin' Dimensionals for that. We want this scene to look 3D. So the more we can pop out, the better. Got about 4 on there. You'll see there, the back side, how much ink bleeds through when you use the Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm sorry, not Stampin' Dimensionals. When you use the Stampin Blends, the ink does bleed through. So make sure you always have something down on your work surface when you're working with those. So keep in mind the placement of your ribbon holes and put your little snowmen about like that. You want it more towards the right side because we're going to put that little bottle brush tree in there. So now we're going to bring the hot glue over. I pulled out some cotton balls. You can pull cotton balls apart and use that as snow on these ornaments. So I'm just going to pull that apart a little bit. I'm going to add hot glue all the way on the bottom. And be very careful because that causes that lid, or the ring, to heat up very quickly. So it gets hot while you're holding it there. And you can add as much snow as you want. Just kind of keep it all pushed down so that you can see the majority of those snowmen. Next, I'm going to add that bottle brush tree to the left side of the ornament. If you don't like the look of this base, you can either cut it off with wire cutters, or you can cover it with more snow. I think I'm going to try covering it with more snow. So just add a little dab of hot glue where you want that tree to go and press it into place. And you can add some more hot glue behind it to just help hold it down. And then I'm going to add a little bit more cotton around it, I think, to kind of hide that base. So I'm going to put some hot glue over the top of it. And just kind of press it into place around there. And then maybe, I think, a little bit more cotton right down here at the base of the snowman. So it's nice and fluffy. And if you find anything's kind of pulling up, you can go back here and add some more hot glue and just kind of press it into place so that it all sticks. Next, we're going to add our ornament hanger and a little bow. I went ahead and tied this off screen. I'm horrible at tying bows, so didn't want to have to do that many times and embarrass myself. You're going to need about an 8-inch length of ribbon. I'm not measuring it. You don't really need to. About that long. And you're going to thread that through the holes at the top here. So go in one side and out through the other. Have the tails an even length and just tie a knot at the top. And if you want more of a loop, you can certainly cut a longer piece of ribbon. Then just add a little dab of hot glue right there at the top of that ring and press your bow into place. Then you're going to take that sentiment that we cut earlier, and I'm just going to add a couple of little rhinestones to either side. These are self-adhesive. I'm just using that paper piercing tool to put those into place. Makes it easy. And then hot glue that to your ornament. So I'd put a dab of glue here. I found it easier to do one side first so that you know exactly where you need the hot glue for the second side. And just press that into place. And there's your finished ornament. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial for making mason jar ring ornaments using the Spirited Snowmen stamp set. I think it turned out so cute. Now if you need any of the supplies that I used to make this ornament, including that Spirited Snowmen stamp set, I have links down in the description box below that go directly to my online Stampin' Up store. If you are in the United States and don't already have a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I would welcome the chance to earn your business, so be sure to contact me with any questions, or if you need any help, I would be happy to get back with you. Now as a reminder, this is the free gift for November, that Swirls and Curls embossing folder. It is free with any $50 purchase if you use this month's host code, so all the details are down in the description box below. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and it has inspired you to make some handmade Christmas ornaments this year. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you want alerts anytime I post a new video, be sure to click that little bell button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy crafting!